guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about Sia and recent events involving Sia. Before I get into the video, I did want to apologize if the reflection of the light on my glasses is bothersome to you, but since I'm reading so much off of my phone, it's easier when I have my glasses. Thank you, astigmatism. If you have been following, I guess, trending topics on Twitter or in other places, you'll have seen that Sia has been trending, and not for particularly good reasons. Now, I hadn't seen Sia trending or in the news for quite a long time, frankly, mainly since her Chandelier days. And if you don't know, Sia's a musician, and as far as I understand and as far as I recall with my experience, her fame really kicked off with her hit song Chandelier, in which she featured a young girl who's now 18 who was on Dance Moms, who is obviously, she's a dancer, and that song became a major hit. So basically, we're going to talk about what has occurred and why she's trending. Before we do that, I did want to thank today's sponsor, which is Honey. For the past few years, I've done the majority of my shopping online, and Honey has been an integral part of it. Honey is a free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically tests them when you're checking out. It's simple and quick to install. Once you've got it, when you're checking out on one of Honey's 30,000 supported sites, Honey searches for coupons, and then if Honey finds a code, you'll see the prices drop. Honey is super helpful, and I recommend it to everyone, especially as it's free and it works on whatever browser you use. I recently used Honey on an order from Michael's to get craft supplies, and I ended up saving money. Get Honey for free today by going to joinhoney.com/readytoglare. That's joinhoney.com/readytoglare, so they know I sent you. Thank you again to Honey for sponsoring today's video. So today what I want to discuss specifically about Sia is her relationship with Maddie Ziegler, the dancer who was in the Chandelier video. I really didn't want it to be, I don't want to say perverse, but I didn't want it to be worrisome. But the more I read, the more I was just kind of like, I expected it to be disturbing in one way, and I found it to be disturbing in a completely different way. One thing I do want to mention though is that Sia was trending prior to this because of a movie she made named Music. I don't want to discuss that at length because I would rather make a separate video about that because it is a very complicated subject and I would rather speak to people in the community who were involved. Sia made this movie and of course featured Maddie Ziegler as the main character. And the main character is, in the movie, is supposed to be autistic, and the autistic community didn't really respond well to Sia not just using someone who is autistic to play that character. It all became messier when Sia's response to people critiquing her was usually rude, not really engaging the discussion as much as brushing people off immediately, seemingly, as, you know, it looked from the outside without really taking in what they were saying or considering it. And if I do a video about that, I would rather talk to people in the autistic community and ask what they thought. So I know that happened. I'm aware. It was a lot going on Twitter, but today we're going to only talk about her relationship with Maddie Ziegler. So I took a couple of pieces from this article that I'll link down below that I found disturbing. So they basically give you quite a rundown of how the relationship between Maddie Ziegler and Sia began and evolved and is today. One main thing I want to underline before we really get into it is that there's a 27-year age gap. Maddie Ziegler right now is 18. So all of these things happening prior, she was younger than 18. So I would just keep that in mind. They started their trajectory together with the Chandelier music video, and then since then, Sia has essentially included Maddie Ziegler in every single project she's done. Sia has stated openly that she no longer has any desire to do projects without Ziegler. Okay, not surprising. A lot of people have their one muse or have their actor, musician, whatever that they like to include in everything. So far, I was like, okay. But then it got a little bit more intense because Sia purchased Ziegler her first car. Maddie Ziegler even split her time between her own mother's house and Sia's house during the lockdown. Understandably, some fans thought this was nice, heartwarming, whatever, and some were just kind of like, that's a little bit strange. So when talking about Sia and Maddie Ziegler, there is a very heavy emphasis on the type of relationship they have that is in some ways atypical for people who are effectively colleagues as well. Sia admitted that on the first day she met the dancer, she felt an instant connection and experienced the love of a mother with her firstborn child. She also shared that she never thought she could love someone so much until she met Ziegler, and that she's grateful Ziegler's mom shares Ziegler with her, quote unquote shares Ziegler with her. Now, this is where I was kind of still remaining optimistic, because to see someone, a younger person, well, a child at that point, and feel maternal or feel like you could mentor them, that's great, that's pure, that's nothing that I find super concerning as long as it remains pure. On the other side of the coin, I'm sure someone could argue that it would be a little bit weird that when you meet a child that isn't your child, that's a child that's gonna work with you essentially, that you immediately feel that. Some people might find that questionable, I don't know. I personally don't at this point, but later on, I begin to be alarmed. So this is where we get into the yikes of it all. So Ziegler would spend weekly sleepovers at the musician's house as a young child. In fact, when Ziegler was only 12, she slept in Sia's bed on more than one occasion. They're like sisters. I love how they snuggle together. Gizzoni, the mother, shared about her eldest daughter and the singer in an interview with Stuff. Considering their 27 years between the pair, many fans were unnerved by the sleepovers. Personally, this is where I'm already like, no. Now, of course, if there's a maternal instinct, it could very well not be alarming. It could very well be pure. That being said, if I were a parent, which I am not, I don't think I would let my child go and have sleepovers with anyone who wasn't family. And even with family, there would be a very distinctive, careful thought of like, who am I leaving my child with? Because just because it's family doesn't mean nothing bad can happen. But someone outside, someone who's that much older, no. The only possibility I would see of a sleepover would be with me there, and my child would not be sharing a bed with some other adult. I think the fuck not. But then again, I'm paranoid. I've been on the internet for too long, so maybe I'm just like very jaded at this point. But that in of itself, I was like, now, this is where it turns into something different. Sia even responds to fan encounters on Ziegler's behalf. I can tell from Maddie's face whether she wants to do it or she doesn't, Sia said, and so I either say, no, you know, we're supposed to be in town, or we're not doing photos today, or actually, we're just having some family time, Sia shared. While some fans believed that Sia was simply being protective of Ziegler, others found the behavior to be controlling. Considering Ziegler is 18 years old, she's seemingly more than capable of speaking for herself. So this is the part where I was like, okay, initially the sleepover thing I felt was creepy, but this seems to me a little bit much. Now, I completely appreciate protectiveness over friends. God knows I am protective, but there comes a point also where responding on somebody else's behalf, especially now that she's 18, maybe when she was younger, it was probably useful, you know, because navigating celebrity when you're that young and people are asking you all these questions, she probably needed the help at a younger age. At the age of 18, being in the public eye for quite a while, I don't see it as something that really needs to be done. That being said, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know if maybe Ziegler has anxiety when that happens, so she prefers for Sia to answer. We don't know, you know, like the kind of agreement they may have come to. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt and hope that there's some kind of agreement there of like, listen, if people ask us this, can you answer? Because if not, it is a little bit overstepping boundaries, in my opinion, answering questions for someone else unless they've specifically told you to do so. As we keep going, we just keep adding on to the list of things that I find make me uncomfortable. Lastly, the article mentions the singer has shared that she decided a good way she can keep the dancers safe is just keep making projects for her, and therefore most of the times we're working together. Sia has even admitted that she's trying to keep Ziegler from doing other projects for various reasons. At this point, if we add everything up, it's a little bit too much for me. It could be as simple as being overprotective if we're going in the optimistic route. And if we're going in the realist/pessimist route, which I typically stay on, there's some obsessiveness and some controlling issues. I don't even know where to start with the sleepover thing, but it could easily be one or the other. I just find that there are multiple red flags, and when there are multiple red flags, it could very well be some kind of coincidence. That being said, it unnerves me, mainly because we've seen these types of things before, and most of the time when there's a story of a celebrity who is many years older having sleepovers with a child, it's not good news. So maybe I'm also just flashing back and projecting that here. You guys can let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the